Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. We're the place that doesn't just skim the surface. Nope. We take the source material, light it up, and see what truth survived the political firestorm.
Exactly. And today, we are diving headfirst into extremism.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, right? Screaming from the headlines.
Oh, yeah. Sensational stuff. You hear about alleged assassination plots, then you get these immediate counterclaims, like Stephen Miller insisting there's some kind of vast domestic terror movement on the left. Total chaos.
It really is. And it feels kind of choreographed, you know? Like it's designed to create smoke, to obscure things. They throw noise at you.
But that's why we're here. Our mission today, cut through all that fog, replace the noise with, well, cold, hard reality.
And we've got the goods. Some pretty explosive sources, actual violence statistics, this massive 900-page blueprint aiming to dismantle civil rights enforcement.
And then these internal texts, political insiders allegedly boasting about a Nazi streak. Seriously heavy stuff.
Yeah. So this isn't just another policy chat. We're dissecting the anatomy of American extremism today, from like street violence all the way up to institutional strategy.
And the culture, right? The toxic stuff that seems to be breeding the next wave of insiders. It's like this whole institutional disaster movie playing out.
Okay, let's start right there then. Let's cut through the talk about who's actually committing the violence. Because if you just listen to the usual suspects...
You'd think it's all masked protesters, right? Anarchists in the street.
Pretty much. But the data, especially on fatalities, tells a brutally different story.
Okay, let's do it. Lay down the numbers. The deadly scorecard. Because you hear folks like Trump or Miller saying the radical left causes tremendous violence in a bigger way. But when you stack that against the actual body count, the whole argument just kind of vanishes. Poof.
Precisely. We dug into government reports, independent analyses going back to 2001, and the pattern is, well, it's undeniable. Right-wing extremist violence. It accounts for the huge majority of domestic terrorism deaths.
How huge are we talking?
We're talking somewhere in the range of 75% to 80%, roughly, of all U.S. domestic terrorism fatalities since 2001. That's the consistent trend, not just a few isolated incidents.
75 to 80%.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, just that one stat should make everyone rethink those cable news debates, shouldn't it?
You'd think so. And the examples aren't minor events. We're talking Dylan Roof killing 9 people at church in Charleston.
Right.
The Tree of Life synagogue attack, 11 worshipers murdered. And go back further, Oklahoma City bombing, 168 dead. These acts are rooted in ideologies like white supremacy or anti-government extremism.
Okay, so what about the other side then? The left-wing extremism.
Well, it exists. It's real. The sources show that. It accounts for maybe 10% to 15% of the total incidents. But then this is critical, less than 5% of the fatalities.
Less than 5%. That's a massive difference in lethality.
Huge. And often, those actions target property. Things like arson campaigns against labs or infrastructure by groups like the Animal Liberation Front. Terrible, yes. Criminal, yes. But generally not aimed at killing people in the same way.
So, if the data on who's actually killing people is so skewed, why does the public conversation, the political narrative, often feel so focused on that smaller fraction?
Well, that's the definitional nightmare, isn't it? And labeling is power. You call something terrorism, it changes everything. Which agency gets involved? FBI, DHS, what resources are deployed? Academic definitions, like the ones used by the Global Terrorism Database, tend to be broader. They might count any intentional violence with a political, social, or religious motive.
But politically?
Politically, the incentive is to label your opponent's actions with the scariest term possible, right? Even if the actual death toll is comparatively tiny. It's about manipulating definitions to maybe steer attention, steer resources, potentially away from where the most lethal threat is coming from.
It feels like a deliberate distraction sometimes. While everyone's arguing about definitions for street fights, maybe the bigger threat is organizing elsewhere.
Well, that leads us perfectly into the next piece. While the street-level violence definitely skews right in terms of deaths, there's this whole other battle, the institutional one.
The intellectual fight for control.
Exactly. And it starts with this incredibly detailed 900-page plan, Project 2025.
Right. This isn't some secret memo. It's out there. Heritage Foundation, loads of conservative groups involved.
Over 100 groups. And it's an explicit operational manual. The sources describe its ideology as extreme Christian nationalist. And the goal is openly stated, completely reshape the federal government. or maybe more accurately, dismantle parts of it.
They're not just talking about cutting budgets here, are they? It sounds more targeted.
Oh, it's surgical. They're going after the very mechanisms that enforce equality, things put in place over decades.
Like what specifically? How are they targeting civil rights in this plan?
Okay, one huge one. They want to eliminate the use of disparate impact in civil rights cases.
Disparate impact. Remind us what that means practically. Isn't that how you prove systemic bias, even if there's no explicit "I'm discriminating" memo?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's the whole ball game, really. Disparate impact says, look, even if a policy seems neutral, like a hiring test, if it ends up disproportionately screening out a protected group, like women or minorities, it violates the law, unless the employer can prove that policy is absolutely essential for the job.
So if you get rid of disparate impact,
You basically have to prove intent to discriminate. Find that smoking gun email, that explicit statement, which, let's be honest, is almost impossible in most modern discrimination cases involving jobs, housing, loans.
wow. So it would effectively gut the power of agencies like the DOJ or the EEOC to challenge systemic problems.
Pretty much cripple it. Yeah, you're not just changing the rules. You're taking away the main tool used to prove the case in the first place. It's a really sophisticated attack on the foundation of civil rights law.
That's incredibly strategic.
Yeah.
And sneaky.
And there's more bureaucratic warfare in the plan. They also want to weaken DOJ enforcement by saying civil rights laws can only be enforced through the courts.
What does that take away?
It eliminates crucial administrative tools. Things like resolution agreements, consent decrees. Those are the ways the government can often fix systemic problems relatively quickly without spending years and millions on lawsuits.
So make it slower, harder, and more expensive to enforce the laws already on the books.
Exactly. Strategic obstruction, making enforcement incredibly difficult.
Okay, so the blueprint lays out the strategic intent, but strategy and personal beliefs can collide, right? This brings us to this nomination, Paul Ingrassia.
Yes, the nominee for the Office of Special Counsel, the OSC.
Before we get into the alleged comments, what exactly is the OSC? What's its job?
Think of the OSC as the federal government's internal watchdog for integrity. Its main job is protecting federal employees from illegal personnel practices, stuff like discrimination based on race, sex, religion, under Title VII.
Okay.
And crucially, it's also supposed to protect whistleblowers, people who report waste, fraud, abuse. It's meant to be the office ensuring fairness inside the government machine.
So arguably the one place you need absolute, unquestionable neutrality.
Exactly. And that's why this nomination has become such a potential catastrophe because of these leaked communications.
Leaked texts, what are we talking about?
We're talking about a potential cataclysm. The nomination is reportedly on life support. Texts allegedly from Ingrassia's time as a political operative were obtained. And the most stunning one, he allegedly boasted, quote, "I do have a Nazi streak in me from time to time. I will admit it."
Hold on. Stop right there. The person nominated to be the chief anti-discrimination enforcer for the entire federal workforce
allegedly texts that he has a Nazi streak.
That's the allegation reported in the sources, yes.
How is that even survivable?
Yeah.
Legally, politically. Isn't that just game over for a nominee for that specific office?
You'd certainly think it raises fundamental questions about due process, about the basic legitimacy of the office if he were confirmed, and the sources detail other alleged texts, too.
Like what?
Like allegedly writing that Martin Luther King Jr. Day should be, quote, tossed into the seventh circle of hell where it belongs.
And that commemorations like Black History Month and Juneteenth should be, quote, eviscerated.
That's not just political disagreement. That sounds like active hostility towards legally recognized civil rights milestones and the people those milestones represent.
If confirmed, his agency would literally be handling discrimination complaints filed by the very groups he's allegedly targeting with this kind of language.
Has there been any defense offered? What does his side say?
His attorney has pushed back. The claim is these texts were taken out of context, possibly satirical humor aimed at mocking liberals who call Magie supporters Nazis.
Satire about having a Nazi streak when you're up for that job.
That's the defense presented. They also raised the possibility the text could have been manipulated by AI deepfakes.
But even if it was intended as some kind of twisted satire, legal experts quoted in sources say the mere appearance of bias is toxic here.
Absolutely. They argue that confirming someone with this documented level of apparent bias would just shatter the OSC's legitimacy. Every decision could be challenged in court on due process grounds.
Right. The perception becomes the reality. It's an institutional meltdown waiting to happen.
It really is. The appearance of prejudice is the problem in this context.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. From that potential institutional crisis at the top, down to the organized militant groups on the ground.
Okay. Let's talk about the Proud Boys.
Right. The sources are clear. This is a far-right neo-fascist organization. They explicitly promote political violence, and they're not just seen that way by critics. Our allies, Canada and New Zealand, have officially designated them as terrorist groups.
And their ideology. It's often wrapped in this Western chauvinism label, right? But underneath.
Underneath, it's pretty raw. Anti-communism, anti-feminism, anti-immigration, anti-LGBT rights, and clear anti-Semitism runs through it.
And their actions, they face serious consequences, especially related to January 6th.
Huge consequences. Their role was central, according to the sources we looked at. Top leaders, including their national chairman, Enrique Tarrio, were convicted of seditious conspiracy, which is a really rare and serious charge. Basically, conspiring to overthrow the government or wage war against it.
Exactly. And the sentences reflected that severity. Tarrio got 22 years. Other leaders got massive terms too. 18 years, 17 years. This wasn't just trespassing or rioting. The courts found they conspired to violently stop the transfer of power.
Okay, so you have these militant leaders getting locked up for sedition. How does that connect to the broader culture you mentioned?
Well, this is where it gets maybe even more insidious. We move from the guys convicted of trying to overthrow the government to the next generation, the young, ambitious political operatives, the ones who see politics as a path to power, maybe.
And where do we see their culture?
In another set of leaked messages, this time from young Republican chats exposed by Politico. Not public statements, but private Telegram groups.
So behind closed doors, conversations among members of young Republican chapters in several states.
Exactly. Thousands of messages. And the content. It's just dripping with vile stuff, racist, misogynistic, anti-Semitic rhetoric, like shockingly casual about it.
A safe space for hate, basically. Any specific examples stand out?
Yeah, the sources detail some truly sickening things. Alleged jokes about slavery, crude references to gas chambers, and one member reportedly described rape as epic.
Ugh, that's just vile. It shows a real normalization of depravity among people trying to climb the political ladder.
It really does. But what's interesting here is the contrast in how this story played out compared to the Ingrassia nomination.
So?
With Ingrassia, the high-profile nominee, you get defenses like satire or warnings about AI fakes from his lawyer. But with these young Republicans...
What happened there?
The Young Republican National Federation immediately condemned the language, called it vile and inexcusable, demanded resignations. People who were named, like Peter Juenta, reportedly got fired from their jobs pretty quickly.
So the youth organization, once exposed, acted fast. They recognized how toxic this overt stuff was.
Seems like it. Swift condemnation, actual consequences for the individuals involved, at least some of them.
But the high-level nominee for a critical anti-discrimination post, his alleged comments get defended with legal arguments about satire.
That juxtaposition is incredibly telling, isn't it?
Yeah.
It highlights this sort of tiered defense system, immediate consequences for the rank and file, caught saying awful things privately.
But legal maneuvering and claims of satire for the person nominated for a powerful gatekeeping position.
It really reveals something about how political power works today, maybe. Who gets protected and who gets thrown under the bus.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. We've hit the violence data, the policy blueprint, the nominee scandal, the militant group convictions, the youth culture. What's the big takeaway for you, the listener, trying to make sense of this political hurricane?
We promised to cut through the noise, right?
Yeah.
Give you the essential truth.
Yeah.
And the synthesis seems pretty stark. 3 core points emerged today. First, the data. Domestic terrorism fatalities. Overwhelmingly linked to right-wing extremism. That 75-80% number is key.
Okay. Point 1, the lethal violence stats.
Second, the institutional plan. Project 2025 isn't just talk. It's a detailed, comprehensive agenda aimed squarely at dismantling civil rights enforcement as we know it, using bureaucratic and legal means.
Point 2, the policy attack on civil rights.
And third, the culture. This isn't just happening in fringe groups. We see a pipeline from the militants convicted of sedition down through young political operatives joking about atrocities in private chats and potentially reaching right up to nominees for key government posts.
So extremism today, it's not just random violence. It's this combination of lethal action, meticulous institutional planning, and this embedded culture of bias that's even being defended at the highest levels.
Yeah, it's a multi-front assault, really.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the final, maybe unsettling question for you to chew on.
Okay, leave us with something to think about.
If the very people nominated to uphold anti-discrimination laws to protect federal workers, if they allegedly use language boasting about a Nazi streak or wanting to eviscerate civil rights milestones, how can anyone possibly maintain faith in the neutrality, the basic integrity of those institutions?
Yeah.
Is justice even possible then?
Or is the appearance of prejudice, that very erosion of faith, maybe the intended outcome? Putting people like that in charge deliberately undermines the system.
That's the chilling possibility, isn't it? The ultimate institutional betrayal. And that's the thought we have to leave you with.
Wow. Okay. That is definitely a wrap on this terrifyingly brilliant deep dive. Seriously, if your brain hasn't completely short-circuited from the sheer weight of reality we just dropped on you, you need to react.
Get involved.
Hit that like button right now. And smash those comments. Tell us your most shocking takeaway. Was it the 80% death toll? The audacity of that OSC nomination? The Project 2025 details? We want those cutting-edge reactions.
Let us know.
And look, you absolutely have to subscribe or follow right now, because our next deep dive, it's going to be so unbelievably mind-blowing, so unmissable. You will literally kick yourself later for every second you wasted not clicking that notification bell.
Don't miss it.
Get hooked, stay informed, stay sharp, and we will catch you for the next deep dive.